And who they were placed with, it actually turns out to be something that I know is God breathed. Um, who the boys were placed with was she's actually my best friend now. They were her first foster. They were the first and last children she ever fostered, and she wasn't even supposed to get them. And she's not saved, but she's a believer, and we've been talking a lot, and I've been, trying to help her grow spiritually. But she said, Tara, I've never heard the voice of God. I've never felt God. She said, but when I walked into that courtroom and I saw you sitting there for the very first time that we met, she said, I heard the voice of the Lord say, help this woman, love this woman, do whatever you can for this woman. And she has. And I really believe that the situation with the twins being placed with her and everything was absolutely God. And I'll explain why. So they were placed with her. And just from get-go, she had just been an angel, not just to the boys, but to me. Little disclaimer, she went completely against protocols, I guess you could say, and really allowed me to still be the boys' mom. I mean, I actually ended up moving in with them. They're actually a huge part of mine and my family's life. They ended up, I guess, fostering me too and really helping me. But okay, so back to my story. I was renting a room. I was trying to do good. Still had, a lot of visitation with the boys and stuff, and was doing my case plan, and I fell. I fell again. A couple months in, all it took was one time, hanging out with the wrong person, and I felt like I was strong enough, but I wasn't. And I started to get high again, and I hid it for as long as you can, but there's certain things you just can't hide. And then I fell all the way down. When it came time for me to, I was, getting close to getting done with my case plan. Nobody knew I was getting high, but I knew. And I was actually getting close to getting the boys back. And I really didn't have a place to live even. I was lying about that. Where I was living was kind of like a party house. I had no skills. I was still broken. I knew I was still getting high. I went to Jenny, the foster mom, my friend, and I said, Jenny, I can't take them back. It's not fair. They've got this great life with you guys. If I take them back, I'm going to ruin it. And that was a really, really hard thing for me to do. But when you love your children, you do things that aren't always conventional. The selfish part of me wanted to just walk in that courtroom and get them back, but I knew that I would be taking them into struggles that they didn't deserve. And I would be taking them into this lie and just repeating the same situation. So they actually adopted them. We talked about it first, and they adopted them, which, I mean, it kind of really worked out. I ended up moving in with them, and so I still, which was kind of a blessing and a curse, because little to their knowledge, I was still getting high more than I had ever gotten high. And not only was I still getting high, I began selling too. If y'all are watching this, don't kill me. So I feel like that was kind of a blessing and a curse, because I had my boys and I was still able to get high, so it's like, it was good at the time, but I had no reason to change. at that point.
And where is your daughter at this point, Sarah?
Which one? I
Well,
had at this
the
point Addison, Airden, and Story. So I had
yeah.
three.
So where
Um,
were they at this point?
Story and Bubby were at my mom's house. She actually had legally adopted them when I was in a long incarceration. Um, I'm mom. I've always been mom. I'm not even sure if I'm sorry, Addie and Bubby were adopted, not Story. They didn't even know for a long time. Mom was raising them. I would see them. I was still mom. I was just not very present. You know, I was there for big things, but even when I was, um, I was present, but I wasn't present, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I still had a relationship with all the kids, but it was strained. And not because I couldn't have a relationship with them. They weren't being kept from me at all. If anything, it was me. Um, I was just too selfish. And I was so high all the time that even when I was around them, I was so high that I didn't even spend time with them. So we're working through a lot of stuff now, me and the kids, and it's working. But
It
yeah,
took you, it seemed like, God knew your heart, and obviously He knew kind of where you were trending, because where you were trending was this kind of cataclysmic moment where you had to come to terms with God, and you had gone through all of these things where you were beholden, obviously not to God, but the drugs. They were your master at this point.
they were.
So, um, what I mean, how did God not just get a hold of your attention, but how did God get a hold of your heart that had been stolen from you through all of these experiences and the drugs?
Well, I'll just go ahead and skip forward to my experience. Um, a few weeks, well, no, not a few weeks, probably a little over a month or so before my experience, I remember standing on my back deck, and I'm still not even sure why I remember this moment so clearly. It must, because it's important, I guess. I was looking up in the sky, and I said, I questioned for the very first time, what if, what if there really isn't even a God? What if this is all just some folklore that, so people don't go into hysteria when they lose people, or, just so we don't panic or have some false hope of the afterlife. And of course, I was stopped in my tracks at that moment, because when I was 7 years old, I had an angelic encounter, which was the absolute realest thing that had ever happened to me in my life up until that point. An angel actually held my hand and walked with me in a huge moment of fear in my life. And the feeling of that moment of this man, glowing man in my garage holding my hand and walking with me, just that, it was something, a feeling that was definitely supernatural. Besides the fact that a glowing man walked with me holding my hand, the feeling was something that I had not felt before or after, and that peace and that love. And I remembered that moment. So, duh, Tara, of course, if God's not real, something's real, because of, this experience that I had had when I was a child. So I knew something was real. I just, I didn't know what. So, not long before my experience, probably, I think it was actually a month to the day, because I made a Facebook post about it. I had a dream, and in the dream, I was standing on, like, I guess, the stairway to heaven, and I was pulling out bits of my heart and handing it to Jesus, who was in front of me. And then he looked down when I was finished. He looked down and he said, "It's not all there." I said, I know. When my daughter died, I lost a lot of it. And he said, "Well, come on, we're going to find it." And I woke up and I was crying, but I was angry. And I remember going outside and literally yelling, "God, if this is you, leave me alone. Like, I don't want anything to do with you. Like, if this is you, God, leave me alone. Like, I'm too broken. I enjoy my sin. I'm not ready for this. Like, just leave me in my darkness." And I had multiple prayers like that, actually. So once again, I hit rock bottom. I was homeless. What relationship I had with everybody was strained. The only people that tolerated being around me was only because I was selling drugs. That's the only reason I had rides, a place to stay, people who called themselves my friends. That was it. So I was homeless, and I had gotten pulled over going to deliver drugs to somebody. And I got arrested, naturally. And I wasn't patted down well. There wasn't a man. So they put me into the car, and they took me to the jail where I was to be patted down by a female. And as I was sitting in the back of the cop car, okay, I had a package of 7.5 grams of pure methamphetamine, wrapped up, sealed tight, and then I had some personal, like in a little container. I said, "Well, I obviously can't put this anywhere else. They're gonna find it." So I made the choice to swallow it. I don't know how I did it. I threw up a little. I almost choked, but I got it down while they were outside of the car. And then the rest, the small bit, I just dumped in my mouth. And I was like, in my mind, I'm thinking everything's going to be fine. It's going to come out in a few days. Not only am I going to avoid, this hefty prison sentence, because I'm already a convicted felon, already got drug charges. If they catch me with this much, I'm going to go away for a long time. So I swallowed it, and I'm thinking worst case scenario, or best case scenario, in a few days it's going to come out and I'm going to have drugs in my cell, be able to get high in jail while I'm here. So that was my mindset. They found out. They watched the video of me in the cop car, and they found out. They didn't know what it was. They sent me to the hospital right when I had gotten arrested, because I'd also swallowed a lot of downers. And hospital said she's fine. Let her sleep it off. I lied about the amount that it was and what it was. They sent me back to the jail. I did end up getting another charge, though. And this is in the height of COVID. So the cells that we were in it was a quarantine dorm. So you're in that cell for 23 hours out of the day. They'll walk by and look at you, and that's it. So for the first, I want to say 3 days, I didn't even move out of my bunk. I was sleeping off the pills that I had taken. And at that point, I probably hadn't slept in, close to a week. So I was out. And on the third night, I had a dream. And I say dream, but it was something else. Yes, I was asleep, but it had authority to it. And since I've gotten out and I've read the Bible, and I used to think, God, God gave so and so a dream in the Bible. Why would they just hop up and act on this dream? Why are dreams taken so seriously in the Bible? I never really understood it until it happened to me. So I have this dream, and I'm laying in a hospital bed, and there's a doctor at the foot of my bed holding like a x-ray or something. And he had a real serious look on his face, and he said, it is, if you hadn't have come in right when you did, you wouldn't have ever woken up. You would have died throughout the night, and no question, no doubt about it. You would have just instantly died throughout the night. And I popped up from that dream, and I can't explain it. I can't explain it. And I wasn't thinking God at this moment. I didn't know where this dream came from, but I'm thinking like, maybe this is just something that happens before you die. Like, but
So what
I
is the
thought
dream about, Tara? What are you dreaming?
I was laying in a hospital bed, and there was a doctor at the foot of it. And he said that the package had, um, it gotten hit, that it had gotten stuck inside of me, and that I was going to internally bleed. I wouldn't have made it through the night. I wouldn't have even woken up from the sleep that I was in at that moment if I hadn't have come in and got help. So, and that was the dream, and I woke up. I popped.
Oh, I'm sorry. So that was the doctor coming in and saying that was all a dream then.
Yes, yes. This is the dream that I had the
Ah,
third night in that cell. So
and this is
I
in a
popped.
cell that you're having this dream of the doctor saying you wouldn't have survived.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Ah,
sir. So I pop up out of this stream, and immediately there was no hesitation, no what just happened, what was it, none of that. I said, I'm going to die. I I'm going to die. And it was like there was no question about it. It was authoritative. It was just something inside of me, like I knew that I was going to die, and that it was a time sensitive situation. I felt like there was a stopwatch on the wall counting down until I died. And then I said, oh my, I'm stuck in the cell. How am I going to get help? Like, I've been in jail a lot. I know how these things go. You fill out a form, and it can be 3 months down the road, they see you. Like, how am I going to get help? How am I going to get out of the cell or before I die in here? So, I started banging and banging and banging on my cell until a guard came, and I played like I couldn't breathe. I played like I was having a heart attack. I did whatever I had to do to get out of that cell and get help. And so when they took me, they came and they did too. And they took me downstairs to I guess the nurse's office there, and I came clean about how much drugs I had swallowed, what they were. At that point, I didn't care about prison anymore. I would rather go to prison than die in jail. So I was honest with them, and um, so they transported me to a trauma unit, all shackled, whole time. Um, I spent the next 16 hours shackled to a hospital bed. And I mean, they ran every test imaginable on me. I had GI tests, I had, sonograms, x-rays, blood work, um, you name it. I had every testing imaginable. And at the end of that trip, like 16 hours or so later, uh, the doctor comes in and he says, it's not stuck, it's not lodged, it's actually in your lower intestine, and don't take anything to help it come out. Just let it pass naturally, and you should be fine. And when I say it was about a 45-minute ride back to the jail from this hospital, when I tell you that I was so angry and I was just second guessing myself, I said, beating myself up. I said, here you are thinking this is some, spiritual thing like of authority that you're going to die. Now you've just set yourself up for a prison sentence, basically. I was mad. um, all for nothing. I said, you've acted on this dream hastily. Um, it was probably just a crazy dream from the drugs. Like I was coming up with all these excuses to beat myself up. So I get back to the jail and they put me in a right up front in the busy booking area, stark opposite from the quarantine cells that I had been in. And I said, the booking area is pretty busy. There's a little flap in the window where they come by every 15 minutes and have to look in on you and check on you. So I asked for a lunch tray because I had been, in this hospital all night. And then, can I have lunch? I've been at this hospital. I've missed breakfast. I've missed lunch. Or it might have just been breakfast. I don't remember. But they gave me my food, put me in that cell, and I lost my life. That was the last memory I have before resuscitation, is walking into that booking cell. The craziest thing, I don't remember anything. I didn't feel ill. I didn't feel dizzy. I didn't feel sick. I didn't feel myself going down. Nothing. It was just walking that cell, and then boom, the next moment, the lieutenant is on top of me, and I don't know how long I had been dead or unconscious at that point. I'm gonna guess somewhere in between 15 minutes unconscious, probably. My theory is that that's when I was really laying there dying, or else they wouldn't have been able to bring me back for that minute they did. So the next moment, the lieutenant is on top of me, straddled me, and I can just see legs around me, all these people standing around me, and she is they've got my shirt pulled up and they're doing a sternum rubs, like rubbing their knuckles all on my chest, only I couldn't feel it. And she was breaking a sweat doing CPR on me, only I couldn't feel it. And I mean, she was sweating. So then the nurse came and knelt beside her, and they Narcaned me 9 times, which is 3 over what they're supposed to, because they didn't know if it was heroin in my system, which it wasn't, so the Narcan didn't help. So they Narcaned me all these times, nothing. She was doing chest compressions on me. I don't know how long before I showed up, before I came back and saw her doing it.
And you were seeing these things, Tara, as she was doing
Yes,
this, but you had like an out of body.
No, that's the thing. I was still in my position. I was still in my viewpoint while they're doing these things. My viewpoint, mind you, I could see, I could see, I could hear, but I couldn't feel anything at all. Like nothing. And so she's doing these chest compressions on me, the lieutenant of all people. And I remember the only thing I really remember her saying was, breathe, Tara, breathe. Come on, breathe. Don't die on us. Breathe, breathe. Think about your babies. Because I had spoken with her before the transport, and I was telling her about my kids and stuff. And she said, breathe, breathe, breathe. Think about your babies. And I remember thinking, I'm like, what are they talking about? I am breathing. Like, I'm not out of breath at all. Like, why are they telling me to breathe? You'd think if they're telling you to breathe that you'd be out of breath, but I wasn't. And it's at that moment that I hear a voice. And I don't know how to explain how I knew the difference. You can tell. It was nobody in this room. It was a voice in my left ear, saying in a voice like caramel, like just a rich, just soothing voice. He said, come with me. You're tired. Your soul is tired. Look at, just saying, not in a mean way, not in a way to make me feel bad, but just a way to convince me, like, hey, and literally the words he said were, come with me. I can give you rest. It's dark, it's peaceful, it's warm, it's quiet. Like, I can give you rest. I can give you peace. Your soul needs rest. And I focused back to the scene above me, and they're still working on me. And it